because the soldiers didn't cease fire until after 12 hours, and they all thought they were going to die. But we all know that didn't happen, because if my father died, I wouldn't be here, right? So luckily that didn't happen. And afterward, my father continued working in the supermarket. He studied part-time, and when he was 19, he finally got his visa and went to the United States. And it was there he finally got his first pair of shoes. He wore his first pair of shoes. New York City in the 70s was a terrible place to be. There was crime everywhere. It was, like you can see in this picture, there's graffiti in the subway. And my father lived in one of the poorest districts in the city, Washington Heights, which is just as bad as Harlem. Living in New York City for him as a minority had its challenges, and every day he would be afraid of getting into the lift, because every time the lift doors opened, he would see some pretty unfriendly faces, and he would be very afraid to get in. He'd rather take the stairs, because if he got in, he wasn't sure if he would get robbed, if he would get mugged, or if he wouldn't come out alive. So he had to live under these conditions, and at the same time he worked 2 part-time jobs. He somehow put himself through college. He was the oldest freshman in his year, at 23 years old. And afterwards, he worked a few years as a computer consultant. And while he was a computer consultant, he found the work really boring. So he decided that why don't I just become self-employed? So that was his first brush with entrepreneurship. When he left the company, he started working in network marketing and direct sales. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's Think, Amway, and Herbalife. So during the time he's been working in the industry pretty much since I was born, for the last 20-something years. And one of the things I learned as his son, growing up, was he told me that I should never feel like I have anything to lose, because there's always someone out there doing worse than you are. Someone out there is hungry, someone out there is starving, and someone out there, if he doesn't work today, he's not going to be able to feed his family. So then, for my father, there was no back door. He either had to succeed or he was going to die trying. So this sort of attitude, when I first encountered it, it didn't really stick with me until I faced my first failure, and that was in high school. In high school, I was an introvert. I didn't really care much about school. I would go home I was one of those kids that would go home after school. I would throw my bags down, I would run to the computer, and I would play video games. That was my life. And when college applications came around, no college accepted me, at least not initially. And I saw my friends. They were accepted to prestigious universities, the Harvards of the world, and here I am, not a single university. So I felt pretty heartbroken. I let my parents down, let myself down. It was that time I started questioning myself. Why am I here on this earth for? What am I doing with my life? What was I born to do? And I didn't know the question, and that kind of started my thought into coming to Hong Kong eventually. So my parents paid a lot of money, sent me to a private college, and in my first year, I met a professor. He taught me Java. At the time, he told me he was working on a high-frequency trading platform. So in layman's terms, it's using a software, and you can trade stocks on the stock market at lightning-fast speeds. So he told me he was working on it for the last 10 or so years. I had no knowledge about this type of IT software, but I asked him, hey, why don't I give it a try? I'll try to sell your product. Since you're a technology guy, you don't know too much about selling. But I didn't know anything myself. So the next thing you know, I signed up for a high-frequency trading event in the financial capital in New York, Wall Street. I remember I was in the W Hotel, in the lounge, not even old enough to drink, with a suit too big, and I was trying to pitch a multi-million-dollar software to people 3 times my age, at 17 years old. You must have thought I was nuts. I had no idea what I was talking about with them, but then some of them somehow were interested, and they asked me for information. So I later found out some of them were trying to steal the program. They were trying to take the exe file, and that didn't work out so well, so I scrapped the whole thing. And I later went on a trip with my father. So I thought, okay, what's next? I know I failed, what's next? I went on a trip with my father, and we went to Hong Kong. And during this time, I saw a lot of opportunity around me. I never really been to Hong Kong. I stayed in the US my whole life. So I asked my father, why don't I just come to Hong Kong? You know? And he said, are you sure? And at the time I just said, yeah, I'm sure, you know, I'm very sure, I'm very certain. So he said, okay. He was very supportive. He paid for my airplane ticket. I got over to Hong Kong, and you can see it's on the other side of the world. So what I had to give up. That was the first time I actually put myself out of my comfort zone, because I grew up where I didn't have any problem with staying. I had a car, I had a big house to live in, I had food on my table. My mom cooked. My mom washed my dishes, did my laundry. I had everything. In order for me to take a leap and come 12,000, something like 12,000 miles across the Pacific, it was, at the time I was pretty stupid. You can say I was stupid. I came over here, I had to let all of that go. I didn't have any friends here. I had only 2 aunts. I didn't have any real resources. So I didn't know what to do. But ever since I was in Hong Kong, you see, actually, New York and Hong Kong bear a lot of resemblance. They all sit on harbors, and they're beautiful cities. But I saw there was opportunity in Asia, so why not? Because even though my Cantonese was broken, I saw even though I had this disadvantage, I still could have made something out of it. So in the last few years I was in Hong Kong, I started a few startups, some which failed. One of them was a home automation project. So using my mobile phone, I can control my house's electronics, like my air conditioner, my lights, my audio system. But I found out I didn't have domain expertise. I had the wrong team. I had a big team. I had a bunch of students who didn't know any more than I did, and we were trying to tackle a problem that's been around for the last 30 years. So that was a little bit too broad for me, and that eventually failed. So in 2012, I had a mentor. He taught me how to play golf. So I never touched golf in my life, but after the first day, I was hooked. I loved the game. Second day, I went out and bought clubs. I bought the wrong clubs, so I had to go back and get them changed. So, because I'm left-handed and I bought right-handed clubs. And at the time I didn't have anyone to play golf with. So I asked myself, why not start a community for golfers, for young golfers? Because I know there was communities for old golfers that were 60, 70 years old, and I didn't fit in that category. So that's exactly what I did in 2012. And at the time it was just me and another co-founder who is sitting in the audience now, and he didn't really support my idea at that time. So it was just me. For the first few months, I would host an event every week at a driving range. And what I found out was most of the time I play golf by myself. Nobody showed up at our events. So after the 3rd month, I was on the verge of giving up. I really felt that this is stupid, why am I wasting my time with this? But something else told me, like, Gilbert, don't give up, there's something more. I see potential in this. Because what we want to do is become the biggest golf network in Hong Kong for young professionals. Because we feel that golf is such a game that you can learn more about yourself, other than just meeting people. So in 2013, you see, we started to pick up more traction. More and more people showed up. And this year, 2014, we successfully held the first 2 golf tournaments with close to 40 attendees in each event. So this is something we're very proud of. And golf, my personal experience of it, I learned a lot about myself playing golf. I learned that I was a very aggressive person. I always tried to hit